Christine Regan Lake here. Welcome back. So today I want to talk about schemas. So there are typically 18 schemas that most of humanity struggles with. It's a kind of core set of beliefs that the diverse population struggles with. Generally speaking, each person might struggle with maybe 4 or 5 of these 18 different schemas that exist. So what is a schema? Well, a schema is basically just a core belief. Some call it a global metaphor, but it's basically just a belief that you hold about yourself or the world that you view your life through. And as a result, the lens of how you see everything in the world is clouded by that global metaphor, by that schema, by that belief. So the one I want to talk about today is abandonment. In my 10 years of doing healing work, trauma release work with people, abandonment comes up again and again and again. And so in our childhood, I've talked about this numerous times in different videos, in our childhood, in the first 7 years of our life, the brain is in either theta or delta waves, which basically keeps children in a hypnotic state. And so their subconscious mind is really very open to suggestion. And so they are absorbing everything around them, and they are deciphering their world, and they are coming up with these definitions, these schemas, and they're usually locked into the brain by the time you're 7 years of age. So in your childhood, if you experienced something with either your parents, your family, a family member, relatives, cousins, friends, it could, some kind of situation in which you felt abandoned and left behind, left out, isolated, that creates for you an abandonment schema. And so what happens is you are constantly looking out into the world for proof that you're going to be abandoned. So how does that show up in your life? Well, it shows up in relationships where people will abandon you. They could potentially, cheat on you. They could divorce. They could die. Whatever it is, there's lots of different ways that you can be abandoned. People can emotionally abandon you. And so that core abandonment belief, that schema, results with people creating anxious attachments. So you will create anxious attachments to friends and to lovers, to your spouse. And it means that you're in a perpetual state of anxiety. You have an attachment to this person, it's kind of like an energetic death grip, where you're attached to them, but in a very anxious way, that like if they leave, if they abandon you, you will die, right? It's kind of this kind of life or death, fight or flight kind of reality. And so what happens is you move through the entire relationship in an anxious state, always waiting for the shoe to drop, always waiting for them to leave, cheat, die, emotionally abandon you, whatever it is. And so as a result, sometimes the coping mechanisms for people who have abandonment issues is they'll be in a relationship and they'll feel their feelings of anxiety will escalate to such a point that they can't handle it, and they will actually break up with the person, because their belief is, I'd rather break up with them than they break up with me. I'd rather abandon them first than have them abandon me, and then I'm devastated. So they will actually run away from the relationship first, because they're assuming the person's going to eventually run anyway. So they just check out and they break up, they move on, whatever it is. And so they run from it in that manner. So what are the emotional resonances that people who have abandonment issues, what are the typical habitual emotional states that people with abandonment issues have? Well, they typically have, like I said, they have a lot of anxiety, they feel isolated, tends to have like sadness and despair. And so social isolation is a big one, because they're always kind of feeling left out. They have a kind of a perpetual feeling of left out, and they'll feel left out in situations, friendships, group friends, things like that. And so the idea is that you want to go back to your childhood and do emotional clearing work around the core wound, the core event that told you you will be abandoned, you will be left, people are going to leave you, you're going to be isolated, left out, left behind, abandoned, whatever. So in identifying what that event was, you can then neutralize it with energy healing work. You do the release work, you release the anchor core event, and then you're able to that neutralize that event so it no longer has the negative charge for you, and then you can implant a new core belief that I am whole, I am accepted, I am loved, people want to be with me, things like that. So I hope you found value in that. I hope you have a great day, and I look forward to speaking with you